Hello, this is History Shorts with the Artifactual Scholar. Today, I'll be talking about the adventures of Aloha Wanderwell. The romance of travel and the promise of excitement in far-off lands has fueled the imaginations of many of us. In the early 20th century, international travel was often a difficult undertaking. Yet to some people, the call of that adventure could not be ignored. Aloha Wanderwell was born Idris Welsh in Winnipeg, Canada. Her father died a few years after her birth, and her mother, Margaret, soon remarried. When World War I erupted in 1914, her stepfather, Herbert Hall, joined the Canadian Expeditionary Force and went off to Europe. The family followed. In 1917, Hall was killed in battle. After the war, Margaret Hall attempted to recover his remains. With her mother away, Idris and her sister attended a series of French convent schools. Headstrong and restless, she chafed at the strict discipline imposed on the students. As a young girl, Idris was drawn to the glamour of early Hollywood and inspired by the exploits in the novels of Joseph Conrad, Rudyard Kipling, and Edgar Rice Burroughs. She longed to escape the rigors of her schools and dreamed of exploring the world. In 1922, opportunity came for her. Idris saw an advertisement seeking a young woman to act as mechanic, secretary, and translator for an around-the-world expedition. Though she was only 16, she applied in person for the position and was hired. The expedition itself was led by a colorful character who went by the name of Captain Walter Wanderwell. The captain, as he referred to himself, had been born in Poland and was a somewhat controversial figure. In fact, during World War I, he had been jailed in the United States on suspicion of being a German spy. But by the early 1920s, he had refashioned himself as an explorer and man of the world. Once hired, Idris adopted a pseudonym, Aloha Wanderwell, and set off with the expedition, driving one car in a caravan of modified Model Ts. The expedition's goal was to visit and film as many countries as possible. Aloha, a statuesque, attractive blonde, soon became the face of the expedition. In December 1922, the group left Nice, France, and set out on their ambitious journey. Over the next year, Aloha and the rest traveled across Europe, making stops in Italy, Spain, Portugal, and eventually reaching Germany and Poland. By 1924, the group was in Egypt, heading eastward across the Arabian Peninsula and on to India. There, the group raced to Calcutta to meet a U.S. Army Air Service group that was attempting to fly around the world. Aloha and the captain recognized the publicity value of that rendezvous. The Wanderwell expedition then traveled through war-torn China and into Russia. There, in the eastern city of Vladivostok, Aloha was named an honorary colonel for being the first woman to drive into Siberia. After a stop in Japan, the group arrived in the United States in January 1925. Throughout the voyage, the group had raised money by presenting lectures and screening their film footage. Once in California, they set about editing the footage for theatrical release. During that same time, Aloha and the captain were married. For the next 18 months, the Wanderwells traveled across the U.S. presenting lectures, and by the fall of 1926, a new Wanderwell expedition had set off for South Africa in an attempt to drive the length of the continent. When they finally returned to the United States in 1929, Aloha was celebrated as the first woman to drive around the world. By her own account, she had traveled through 80 countries and covered some 380,000 miles. Their movie, With Car and Camera Around the World, premiered that same year. In the midst of this, Aloha learned how to fly planes. In 1931, the Wanderwells set off for the Amazon rainforest, hoping to find the lost explorer Percival Fawcett. Aloha piloted the seaplane that carried them into the Amazon, becoming the first woman to fly into the Mato Grosso region of Brazil. Though they did not find Colonel Fawcett, Aloha did record footage of their trek and of the Bororo tribe. The trials of the Amazon expedition caused a rift between Aloha and the captain, and when they returned to the U.S., they lived separate lives. In December 1932, the captain was shot and killed aboard his schooner, a mystery that remains unsolved. Though Aloha remarried and continued with her travels, her celebrity began to fade. Aloha Wanderwell lived a life of action and excitement. By her mid-20s, she had traveled to more places than most of us do in a lifetime. She was a pioneer in exploration, aviation, and filmmaking, and challenged many of the conventions of her time. This has been History Shorts. Thanks for watching.